I don't know, today's a strange day. Things are standing out and sort of pushing me to make this video. I went to one YouTube guy that's has a news station and trying to report the real news. And yet I'm not really seeing anybody really reporting the real news. Um, we're always looking at the stories, the end results of stuff that's going on, but nobody's really paying attention to why is it all happening? What is the cause to everything? And yeah, having my rent stolen, it's the feeling of the justice system again is really devastating. And that's kind of the news that I'd like to talk about. If you've seen any of my other videos, you've seen that I had an ex-husband that did not want to pay his child support, which meant he did a lot of corrupt actions, a lot of things that he should be in jail for. Perjury is a serious crime. Fraud is a serious crime. Um, he's done a lot. I mean, the end result is I pay him child support and the kids live with me. So that's kind of like the story is the justice system. And while we're seeing all of this corruption, I'm seeing more people say, we'll get them in court, we'll sue them. And it's like, are you freaking nuts? Have you not seen that our justice system doesn't work? And this corrupt system is in our faces every single freaking day, and you cannot see it. You look at any crime show, Law and Order is a good one, and you'll see that they're not really interested in solving crime. They want to find somebody to accuse, and then they have this, well, if you don't plead guilty, you'll have to be in jail for 20 years. And they can use that because if you can't afford to use the justice system, which costs a lot of money, then you can't present any evidence in front of a judge to even say you're guilty. So the police forces that do all of these investigations and prosecutors, that all they do is try and manipulate you to plead guilty to something that you're innocent of because it's cheaper. And it's, so meanwhile, how many people are innocent that are in jail because they've been manipulated to plead guilty something that they're innocent, but they can't afford to prove that they're innocent? This is in your face. Look at every friggin' crime show. The law is all about money and who can afford it. And then we get to the judges. They are the ones that receive information to make a just decision. Well, they only receive the information they think is relevant. When you go and perceive anything, you're going to perceive it by the reality that you know to be true. Most of these judges are friggin' wealthy. They haven't got a comprehension of what poverty is like. They don't have a comprehension of what slavery is like. They don't have a comprehension of abuse, because generally they're perceiving life from an abuser's perspective. Generally, they are abusers, they're judgers. They think they are right, no matter how wrong they are. So if you present any information that is relevant to your case, I mean, I've had plenty of information that the courts needed to see, but judges always say it's not relevant. It's not relevant. Well, how can you make a just decision if you're not going to look at all of the information? And who are you to judge what's relevant and what isn't relevant? Everything has a cause. Things have a cause and a reason why people do the actions that they do. And as long as we don't put the evidence in front of a judge to see, hey, he's guilty because of this action, then we'll never ever get to see it. So the real news is you don't have a justice system. They openly admit this isn't the best system we've got, but it's the best we've got, so we go with it. And it's like, who's saying that? Every single one of these people that are getting wealthy, all of these judges, all of these lawyers, they're making a huge buck off of a system that they know can't tell right from wrong. And if you go into these courts, then you're risking getting a judgment that goes against you simply because it can't tell right from wrong. And then as soon as you get an order that works against you, people think that you're guilty of something, and you're not. It's just the rich guy gets off, and then we subconsciously teach society that the guy that won is the guy that's right. In my case, it was, a deadbeat who has all of the money. Do you not think that this gave the influence that crime pays? That lesson, that example, taught and brainwashed the evil actions that he did. And we don't do as you say, do as we do. He's teaching everybody that was involved in the crimes that he did that what he did was right. And he got a lawyer and a judge final action that says he's right. He can go around saying to the world, I'm not a deadbeat. I've paid my child support. Meanwhile, I'm the one that's paying him and he hasn't paid anything. So, when we have these court rulings, it doesn't mean that it's right. And then I've looked at a really cool video on the music industry and how much manipulation is being done there. And if you don't follow, the evil ways, then they set you up for crime. It doesn't matter whether you have, you know, can afford a lawyer. If the other guys have more lawyers and they bought judges, if all the criminals are on the one side, it doesn't matter whether you're guilty or innocent. I'm really starting to believe that Michael Jackson was not guilty of any of the crimes that he was accused of, but the stress involved, not only being accused, but having a globe that knew who he was, to have that much energy, that much negative energy being put on you of being accused of something you didn't do, it rips apart the mind. And when we see that, yes, he was on drugs, well, yes, maybe he was the one taking the drugs, but who was the one that was making this addiction happen? Who was the one that gave him this need for a drug in the first place? All of our doctors, all of our medical community, every single way we treat medical issues, we give blockers, we give painkillers. This is the way we know in our societies of how to handle problems, is take something and block it so you don't see it, you don't recognize it, you don't deal with it. So when we see Michael Jackson taking any drugs and say, oh, he caused it himself, no. There was a great deal of pressure put on him, and a global consciousness that says this is how you handle pain, take drugs. So he couldn't get off it because there was not even an example of how you get off it. As long as the system continues, that pain that you've experienced stays there until you transform it into the solution. And regardless of whether you experience the solution for yourself, as long as you know it's going out and hurting other people, as long as you are a global thinker, as long as you're empathetic, you feel the pain that other people feel. So, you can have all of the money in the world, but as long as you know that there's a corrupt system and you are one person and you can't do anything to change it, that pain stays with you. And that pain is so friggin' great, you will do anything to relieve that pain, even if it means taking a drug. And yet, the biggest cure is for us to get together. Our biggest cure is to show love towards each other. The biggest cure is to get on the same page and be one and do what's right and stop judging other people and ask the question, why are you doing these actions? I know why my ex-husband didn't pay. He was too scared. He was, the society scared him that I was going to take him for everything he had. And that's just not true. I went to school and took programming. I just needed a little help while I went to school. And then I even signed papers that said I would reject any form of support. But he created a bigger problem. One that I'm talking about forever until he can recognize what he did maybe wasn't the best thing he could do for himself or for his own children. He has to recognize what he did that was wrong. And I'm not the one that convinces them of it. Society needs to say, maybe what we're doing is wrong. Maybe what we believe in is wrong. Something to think about.